general question, is there something that you kind of wish you'd been asked that you have never really been asked, or like a really little detail that you're like, I wish more people thought about this, or I love this little thing I've put into a book, or anything like that?
Good question. I mean, to be honest, a lot of the stuff that you've been posting on the Hidden School site, I'm like, yes, good. Somebody picked up on this. This is good. This is good.
I'm glad.
I don't want to say for sure which ones.
No, it's perfectly okay.
for risk of spoiling people, but
I do have 160 articles planned that I just haven't had time to write, so there's gonna be more.
Excellent. I can't wait to finish the series so that I can go back and read them. I have skimmed, but I'm like, okay, gotta keep.
Oh yeah. I'm very well aware of what can and cannot be looked at there.
Eyes on the prize here. Let's see, things that there's a lot of stuff that I just feel like a total nerd for including and continuing. But one of my favorites that I have really enjoyed screwing around with in the Craft Wars book so far is the unfamiliar ceiling, which is just me being weeb, really at the core of it. But
I don't think I know about that. Tell me more.
Oh, okay. So the anime Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Okay, I've heard of it, but I have to confess I'm not an anime person.
Okay, well, Eva is great. It's very weird. Some like fundamental. It's a tricky recommendation just because like a few key sort of sexual mores have shifted since it came out in a way that makes some characters like extremely squicky who are just kind of squicky in who just felt kind of squicky in like 92.
Yeah.
But I will say that there's not a single person in the show, even given that there's not a single person in that show who isn't like really understandably messed up by their past and their experiences and obviously wrestling with that or compensating or like in a whole bunch of different ways. There's like a sort of excuse, or not excuse, but like everybody is justifiably off their rocker in a really really worked through fashion. But it's a series that has some resonances, I guess, with Craft Sequence stuff, in that you have a kind of three-tiered generational structure, though. In Eva, you have the 14-year-old pilots of giant robots, and you have the like 20s and 30s sort of managers, like the people who are on the bridge that are sort of managing the giant robots, or like trying to train the pilots or help them out and like doing all of the office politics. And then there's the sort of senior generation who are all in their like 50s and 60s. And so each one of these generations has been through its own sort of course of generational trauma related to the reason that we are now putting teenagers in giant robots to go out and fight to save humanity. The good thing, one of the really good things about Eva is that it instantiates, it's like a deconstruction show. It's taking apart a lot of the tools that the giant robot genre uses to build itself. But unlike many shows that have similar projects or works of fiction that have the project of, say, like taking apart the epic fantasy, for example, Eva works really hard to create a giant robot show, like an almost perfect diorama example of the kind of thing and the kind of expectations that it's then going to really peer deeply at with this like and press against with this sort of classical deconstructivist project of like, oh, you said both of these things, let me put them right next to each other. Let's look really closely at both of these things that you just said, and let's push and see what happens. Oh, your entire project just explodes. Fascinating. How interesting. So it has that kind of vibe for it. And that's my like capsule sell on Eva. So watch, if you're so drawn, don't watch the Netflix subtitles.
Okay.
they added some scenes, they moved some stuff around, and like see if you can
Okay.
find the older subtitled version. That's the end of my being too much of an anime nerd for this conversation. um, this so you have these kids. Our main character is this like deeply, deeply depressed teenager named Shinji, who's been told by his forbearing and his overbearing and like pretty transparently evil father that he needs to pilot this giant robot to save humanity, or else like really bad stuff will happen. So he goes out and he does it, and he ends up being sort of successful at it, but having like kind of gifted child problems with regards to like, does anybody actually care about me? Or do they just care about that I can pilot the giant robot? Am I any good at piloting the giant robot? Piloting the giant robot is deeply unpleasant. Maybe I should do something else. Anyway, so he keeps getting into fights with giant monsters, and then occasionally the robot ends up trashed. The first time this happens, he wakes up in a hospital and is staring up at the hospital ceiling, and he says unfamiliar ceiling.
I see where you've done that then. Yeah.
And it comes up again and again, and it's like
Yeah.
the first time it happens, he's just this kid who's like used to growing up, he's been raised by his grandparents because his dad's off being an evil genius somewhere, so he's just like used to looking at his bedroom ceiling, but this is not his bedroom ceiling, and this is very weird for him. But it keeps coming back, as he ends up in the hospital again and again. It's like still the unfamiliar ceiling, this ceiling again, sort of character development. And I just couldn't resist dropping that in in various occasions in the sequence. People wake up in hospitals, and Tara.
That happens a lot. That does happen a lot. Like Caleb and Tara, actually all of them. No, that's a bit of a running theme for all the main characters. They end up in hospital.
It's a good thing that healing magic exists in this setting.
Very much. Though it does amuse me when the crafts people characters are trying to heal, but all they know how to do is like bring people back from the dead, and it's just just that idea that's like, if I could just kill you and bring you back, though, that would be easier.
So much easier. Are you sure I don't want to die? Yes, I'm really sure. It'd
be so easy if I could just kill you. But yeah. Very much. Well, I'm sure as soon as I hang up, I will come up with millions more questions, but I will end that there and say thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Yeah.